This is the Deebot N20 Pro Plus, and it is the first robot vacuum that I've seen that comes with a auto empty station that uses cyclonic technology to remove the dust from the vacuum and be emptied without a bag. When I was a kid, all of the vacuum cleaners you could buy came with bags that you needed to replace every couple of months in order to collect all the dust and dispose of it. Then Dyson came along and introduced its cyclonic vacuum cleaner, and suddenly all vacuum cleaners you could buy went to this bagless version. With robot vacuum cleaners, it's a bagless base unit, but more recently, as towers have been introduced, you've been asked to reinvest in bags to collect all that dust until this model here. This is the Deebot N20 is an entry-level unit. It's not top of the line, it's nothing premium. And part of the reason that this entry-level unit has been introduced and has this new technology is that Ecovacs found that the people looking for the cheaper models are less inclined to want to spend money on disposables like a vacuum cleaner bag. So it introduced this bagless technology into its entry-level vacuum. The N20 vacuum has plenty of suction. It has up to 8,000 PA of suction power, which is almost double what last year's model had, the N10 Plus. It sucks so well. I actually called this vacuum Sir Sucks a Lot because it sucks so well. It can travel through your house. It's got a solid battery life and will happily clean your house in a few hours. My house is a 3-bedroom home, and it cleans it effortlessly every day at about 8:30 in the morning on a schedule. So how does the cyclonic auto empty station work? Well, once the vacuum has gone about its business, it's traveled the house and it's sucked up all the dirt and debris around your floors, comes back to the base station and it empties it as usual. But instead of emptying into a bag, it empties into this. What that means is that once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on how dirty your floor is, how big your home is, you need to manually empty this out. Now, it's not a difficult process. You just pop the button, pull it out, take it to your bin and lift that up and it opens up. What I have found though is that the design that it has it tends to block fairly easily. So in order to empty it effectively, you sometimes need to stick your fingers up there and pull the dust out, which isn't ideal. It's not the kind of thing that I'm looking for with my vacuum cleaning experience. I think the bags, for better or worse, they cost more, but they actually seal the dust in and you don't have to touch it anymore. You don't have to see the dust flying around your dust bin as you empty it out, which is a nice thing, really. But at the same time, this is A, easy, and B, much, much cheaper. Bags for your other Deebot models typically cost about $10 each, about $30 for a 3-pack. So it's an ongoing cost. If you need to replace those every 2 months, say, then that means you're going to need 2 packs per year, which is going to cost $60 a year, which is an ongoing expense that a lot of families don't want to pay in this day and age, myself included. One of the other features that I was really excited about with the Deebot N20 Pro Plus was its anti-tangle brush. So I reviewed a couple of robot vacuum cleaners from a different company earlier this year, and it featured a rubber main roller, and after about a week of vacuuming the floors every week, just human hair that had been picked up, that had fallen out of, probably not me, but my daughter or my wife, had been picked up by the roller and it had actually ripped it to shreds. So the promise of a roller that doesn't tear sounded really promising. It's meant to be an anti-tangle roller with anti-tangle barbs that meant to rip the hair apart. So I was very excited to see that. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out that way. So you can see that I haven't actually checked the roller since I started reviewing this about 3-4 weeks ago, and you can see that there's just a big wad of hair tied up in the middle there. Now, I had hoped that during this review process, the hair would just automatically be dealt with while the vacuum was running, and it would get sucked up into the cyclone and I wouldn't have to deal with it anywhere near as frequently. But it seems that it is there. Now, the plus side of all of this is that even though there is hair there, that's not uncommon across all robot vacuum cleaners. It's not something that this does worse than anything else. And the fact that the brushes are not just a rubber strip that tears very easily means that I can cut this off, I can remove it, and things will move on and continue normally without anything to worry about. Probably the most frustrating element of the N20 Plus is the mapping and the obstacle avoidance. So, as I said, I've been testing this for roughly 3 to 4 weeks. It's vacuumed my house every weekday at about 8:30. There's been the odd day that I haven't had it run through. And from the very first vacuum, it has struggled with the home. Now, the reason that is the mapping software. So before, when you first set it up, you have to send it out to map your home. And it did that, and it got to the back room of my house and could see out onto my back veranda through the big glass sliding doors, and decided that I had not one, but 3 additional rooms outside of my house. So in order for it to create a map, it has used the sensors in the N20 and added in rooms that simply don't exist. It will never be able to get to. At the same time, my 2 kids' bedrooms, I live in a 3-bedroom home, my 2 kids' bedrooms and my family area, which is wooden floorboard or vinyl floorboard, and my 2 kids' bedrooms, which are carpeted, separate areas, it has combined all 3 of those areas into one room. So where that leaves me is you can dive into the Ecovacs app and you can customize the map within reason. You can divide rooms, you can combine rooms, but you can't delete rooms. From the map that was created by the mapping software, I can't actually delete a bunch of rooms. I can break up the rooms that do exist into the proper rooms, and I can combine 2 different rooms that were incorrectly mapped into one room, but I can't actually remove that. And that's really frustrating. And what that leads to is when the N20 is actually vacuuming the house, it goes over the same areas again and again and again. It took me a little while to realize, but it keeps coming back to those big windows and going over that area time and time again because it's trying to get to rooms that don't exist. For the purpose of this review, I didn't remap my home. I did it once, and because I feel that that's probably how most people will do it. And to be fair, I've reviewed a number of Deebot robot vacuum cleaners before and never had a problem. So it's a bit of a surprise. The other area that this struggles with is in the obstacle avoidance. Now, the last Ecovacs I looked at was the X2 Omni, and that had incredible obstacle avoidance. It could dodge cables and wires and stray bits of clothing. And as the parent of 2 teenagers, that's incredibly important. And it could dodge that effortlessly. This guy actively seeks out anything that it can chew up. It finds cables that are tucked away but maybe hanging just a slight little bit too low. It finds odd socks that are buried, half buried underneath other things. It will find whatever it can eat and it will eat it. Now, half the time it just kind of drags it around. Other times it gets really tangled and you'll hear the alert and it'll tell you to detangle it. And I have to say that for me, as someone who's been using robot vacuum cleaners for a number of years now, I would spend more money to get something with better obstacle avoidance. So look, all told, this is a really solid entry-level robot vacuum cleaner. The cyclonic dustbin is actually a really good idea. It just involves getting your fingers dirty a little bit if you don't keep it empty all the time. And to be honest, most people aren't. The reason you get a robot vacuum cleaner is so that you don't have to deal with the vacuuming every day of the week. I feel like things like the mapping and the obstacle avoidance, that's not something that will necessarily improve over time with this particular model. You need to step up to the next level in order to avoid those challenges. But this is a device that's designed for people looking to get their first robot vacuum cleaner. My first robot vacuum was the Deebot N8, and it was nowhere near as good as this, and I loved it. It's only in the time since, as I've progressed and as I've tested a range of them, that I've actually uncovered just how good they can actually be, and find that some of these things, like having to wander around the house and pick up cables and dirty washing before the vacuum runs, is actually a bit of a pain. So if you're looking for an entry-level robot vacuum, this is a great place to start. If you want something a little bit more robust, then you're going to have to spend a little bit more. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and read the full written review on bttr.reviews.